Auburn appears closer to flipping Notre Dame quarterback Deuce Knight.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a Recruiting Thursday. Brian Smith of AuburnDaily.com hanging out with us to talk all things Auburn recruiting, including Na'eem Offord coming up later, as well as a 2026 wide receiver that should be on any Auburn fans' radar. But let's start with the guy that Auburn fans can't quit talking about, or at least the ones who follow recruiting closely, and that's Deuce Knight, the elite quarterback that's committed to Notre Dame, has been committed to Notre Dame for quite some time. Brian, several folks reporting that he will visit Auburn for the season opener against Alabama A&M. We haven't talked since this news has surfaced. Your initial reaction to that was what?
Not surprised. That's the first weekend that the NCAA is allowing visits. So since Auburn's got a home game, why not?
Yeah.
From all indications, he wants to kind of speed this up. He's dragged it along quite a while. Maybe this is the final point for him to make a decision, either that weekend or quote unquote shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, is this the timing of, okay, like if he's gonna do the flip? I mean, this seems like it's the worst kept secret in recruiting right now. I mean, it seems like everybody in the Notre Dame side of it thinks he's flipping to Auburn. Of course, Auburn feels that way too. And you're seeing kind of impartial national people continue to put in predictions for him to flip. Does it make sense for him to do it while he's on the meeting, or while he's on the visit, shortly after the visit, before the visit, to help other people that are in town? Like, what's your opinion on this?
I mean, it just has to be the right decision for him, whatever that is. For whatever reason, it's taken a lot longer than we thought, and he's not picking up the phone, so I don't know what that is. So maybe that's the room. Like Tom Lloyd from 24/7 said he wants to see Auburn play, and by all means, he should. Yeah. So hopefully that gives him some clarity about the campus, the game day, all that, because Auburn game day is cool. I mean, it really is. He should see that. He wants to compare the schools. That's a fair point. But after that, like, what else could he see? Because he knows, I mean, he's grown up in the South. He's familiar with Auburn. He's been to the campus. He's talked to coaches, to players. There, a bunch of the recruits I know are personally recruiting him for Auburn. If not now, it gets to the point like I'm like, I have no idea what he's going to do. If he doesn't do it soon after that, I would be like, okay, I have no idea.
And I get wanting to see what a game day is like, I guess, but you're basing that decision off of Auburn hosting Alabama A&M. Like, I mean, no disrespect to them, but like, if that's the trail of thought, and I know you're not saying, like, we're not arguing here, we're in agreement, but it's like, why wouldn't you wait until at least like Arkansas comes to town, or wait for the Oklahoma game, or go to all of them if that's really what it is? The timing of this, it doesn't seem to make sense. And then like the drama that goes along with it of like screenshots going around where he took Notre Dame out of his bio, and then like people started talking about it, then he added it back. Like, it's just been kind of a weird end to the saga of the Deuce Knight Auburn versus Notre Dame recruitment. It's been strange.
A key word that you use there is end. I don't think this ends until signing day, regardless.
Good point.
Notre Dame,
sure. Good point.
Notre Dame, I've said it before, I say it again. I don't think if he flips, I don't think they'll pursue him as much. That's my guess. Ole Miss, in my opinion, will be Auburn's competition long-term. Just my projection. I know that they will not give up from all indications that I've been given, but I don't understand why you would mess with the bio stuff now, by the way. He just set himself up for failure there. That's kind of funny, but he's 17.
Yeah. I mean, is that a negotiation tactic? Is that like trying to get more out of it? I don't know. Because I mean, Deuce up to this point seems like he's kind of a smart kid, a calculated kid. Like, he's not rushing this, but then you see him do stuff like that. It's like, well, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you're right. He's still 17, but it's just been interesting to see. It's like, did he take Notre Dame out of it, and then he got a call from like a Notre Dame coach? He's like, what's going on? And then he adds it back.
That stuff happens.
Yeah, there's no talent. There's no talent. But like, if you're Notre Dame in this, Brian, at what point At what point do you say, like, okay, like this isn't like we don't look good in any of this? Because we talk about this all the time, like perception's reality when it comes to recruiting. At what point, if you're Notre Dame, you're just like, okay, like let's just kind of get this over with so we can pivot?
To my knowledge, I don't think they're going to go after another quarterback in the 25 class, barring something unforeseen. I'm sure they're going to kick the tires on a few guys, but kids are probably not going to flip. So I guess that's why they are all in for at least now, because
makes sense.
What else are we going to do?
Makes sense.
But again, just kind of knowing that program and the way they've done business under Freeman, I think that like by October 1st, they want a deadline done. That would be my guess. And that's probably stretching it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong. It is a quarterback. Maybe that changes things, but it would drive me nuts as a coach, no matter what program I'm at. You got to know who your quarterback is. And that's why Auburn's went so hard. They just didn't get their first choice. Okay. You move to the next guy and they're in a tough spot too. You miss a quarterback. It can change your roster really quickly.
Yeah. And we saw what Hugh Freeze and staff did when they landed Walker White so early on. I mean, that was a huge win. That was a huge win, beating out Clemson for Walker. And then we saw what that class turned into. This one's kind of the opposite direction, where they've gotten so many solid pieces outside of the quarterback. And it's like, come on, just complete our class. And then we'll probably get a few more guys that want to come play with you. It's been interesting to see how they've handled this class, which I guess will be his second full class versus his first full class, which was last year. The order has been totally different. And we're seeing them kind of get involved with 2026 quarterbacks, but they've already got a solid footprint in the 2026 class already with the amount of guys that they've got committed. It's just been interesting to see how they've handled each class a little bit differently, Brian.
Timing of quarterback commitments is something that I'm sure every head coach would love to have their finger on. They have zero input on that. That's the problem.
Right.
So
right.
I'm sure that they're trying everything in their power. Whoever it is they want in 26, they don't want to go through this again. I'll speak for you, Freeze there. That can't be fun. It can't.
No, you always want an elite quarterback committed to your class. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at all.
Especially like if you can get one like February, March, and they're coming to spring practices, there's media hype. That's the ideal situation. I don't remember exactly when Walker White committed, but it was pretty early. And he had a chance to help recruit some of the guys that ended up signing at wide receiver. That matters especially. So, yeah, next year, hopefully for Auburn's sake, it goes a little faster, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see certainly what happens there. So, yeah, I mean, I think Deuce Knight ends up in Auburn's class. I'm still kind of in that frame of mind, but we'll see if it's before his visit when Auburn hosts Alabama A&M, during or after. It will be one of those three. I am predicting it's one of those three. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Hey, there is a talented 4-star in-state stud at wide receiver that folks need to be paying attention to. And Brian, you've seen him play multiple times. We'll jump into that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Ibotta. Whatever you're buying, whether it's that, dream vacation or, anything that you're needing to buy more things, the start of school in our house, Ibotta, whenever you're buying these things, you get cash back on all of your purchases. So you can spend more time making memories this summer and fall and less time just dreaming about them. So Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. And you can earn hundreds of on items from groceries to beauty supplies, toys, doesn't matter what it is. You can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Ibotta users on average earn $256 a year. So obviously that could put a dent in a shopping trip or maybe even kind of, an extra night in a hotel on your vacation. So you can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores. So it's time to join Ibotta. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or your Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store. And be sure you use code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. For your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football, or check out Brian. If you want more Brian, go check out Locked On Seminoles over there as well. So Cedarian Morgan goes by CD Morgan, the 4-star wide receiver from Benjamin Russell up in Alexander City. Our friend Cole Pinkston of On3 put in a prediction for Auburn to land CD Morgan in the 2026 class. Brian, you've seen this guy close up. You know the kid. What stands out when you talk about CD Morgan's game?
First thing is he doesn't even have to move. He's 6'5", 207.
6'5".
Yeah, he's a big kid. And like, he looks like he's over 20 years old, just physically. If you didn't see his face, he's a little younger, but like physically, he looks like he's 22, 23 years old. So that's first thing.
Dude, even his face, like I'm looking at a picture of him on On3, and it's like, if you told me this guy was in college, I would totally buy it.
He's such a big guy. And trust me, shaking his hand and meeting him solidifies what you're saying.
Gotcha.
I've seen him 3 times since June, and every time it's the same thing. He's just too big for high school guys to really deal with. It's kind of comical, but at the same time, he's still got to just refine his game. He's got humongous hands, got wingspan, and believe it or not, like, I'm not saying he's Randy Moss or anything. He's so long when he runs, it doesn't look like he's going fast, but he keeps getting farther away from the guy behind him.
Yeah.
So just big stride. He is the boundary receiver that you always struggle to find. There aren't many of them. He's going to be a 225-pound boundary receiver, kind of an Alshon Jeffrey would be my comparison for it.
Well, I mean, and this kind of fits the mold of what we've seen Hugh Freeze want in these outside wide receivers, these massive, huge bodies, huge frames, and just have a wide catch radius, physically imposing. I mean, CD Morgan checks the same boxes as a DK Metcalf and a Laquan Treadwell, and all of these big receivers that Hugh Freeze has had in the past.
There's a reason. It's called success. He's proven in his system how well it works, and I'm sure they're selling CD on that. I've talked to him about Auburn. They're definitely all over him. Yeah, we've talked multiple times about it. Florida's a school to watch. Georgia and everybody else is recruiting him. He'll have 50 offers, but I think Auburn is the team to beat until otherwise noted. I didn't know Cole put in a prediction for him. I'll have to ask him about that. But for those who don't know, that town's only about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's right down 280. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a straight shot. So I drove there last Friday. They had a scrimmage and saw him play. Their first game actually is against Opelika this week. So Malik Autry's coming to town, but he is a great player, and I'm sure that will be a war until he signs.
Yeah, no question about it. But I mean, he just checks all the boxes of what Hugh Freeze wants. 247 has him as the number 2 player in the 2 receiver in the 2026 class. ESPN has him as the 6th receiver in 2026 class. 247 has him as the top player in the state in the 2026 class. So once again, just like the importance that they're going to put on this guy, he's a player. He is certainly a player. So when you watched him, like, does he rely on his size to create mismatches in what you've seen? Or is this a guy who, is able to use kind of more than just him being larger than the folks that are covering him?
They run some stuff where it is kind of resembles, it's kind of an NFL offensive scheme. Receiver goes in motion, acts like he's going to block down, kind of shuffles, and then he shoots out. He got a couple of deep balls off that this past week. Okay. He's pretty good at anything over his shoulder, which is a key sign at an early age. Those are harder catches. Seen him make several of those. So his hand-eye coordination is really good. The only question I have with him is just, when is the refinement going to come? He's so young, it's kind of hard to pick on, but there's nothing else to talk about. You can't teach all the physical traits. He's already bigger than most guys are in the NFL, and he's a guy that could really run. So it's just mechanical, just the little things of getting off the line, getting off bump, because he hasn't played against many guys that can cover him, except for when I saw him at Future 50, which is an elite invite-only camp. He hasn't played against more than a couple of guys. I don't even know if he's played against Na'eem yet. Somebody like that. Yeah. Outside of an elite player, nobody's checking him one-on-one.
Yeah, and it'll be intriguing to see what he does against Opelika, because their defense is supposed to be pretty good, but I don't know if they've got a corner that can physically cover it.
You're going to have to roll coverage, I would think. If they play one-on-one all night, God bless them. I mean, even if you're a larger corner and you're 6'1" or 6'2", it's like he's still got 3 inches on you. Like that's a big deal. I think that's the part that I'm curious about. Sedarian's a really honest kid, very, very straightforward, humble kid. Yeah. You ask him something and he'll tell you. Like, he's a rare guy, because most guys his talent level are not the most fun for me to deal with the wide receiver position. I deal with a lot of divas, but he's not. So I'm curious. It starts early. He's a kid that I think knows that he's got a long way to go with that stuff, but he's okay with it. When I saw him at practice, he worked just as hard as the kid that's at the back of the line.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good sign that he'll end up being where he needs to be. Like his potential is almost unfathomable because you can't teach those traits. And now, like you see the work ethic come with it, and all the kids rally around him. His coach told me he's the team leader. Like all these things are a great sign. That's a pretty good program.
Yeah.
So Malcolm Simmons and some other, they've got players come through there. But I was told this past Friday that CD is without question the best player they've had there. And that's not really all that shocking.
Yeah. Physically, he's just everything that you want. Yeah. The other top schools outside of Auburn, Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Oregon, pretty good group for sure. So
yes,
all of those coaches head into Alexander City. Like I think that says something. All right. You mentioned Na'eem Offord. I think you can make the case that his recruitment for Auburn's class, the final product of what we project Auburn's class to be, his recruitment might be the most important. Let's jump in and talk about Na'eem Offord in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Hey, Locked On Auburn fans, I want to take a moment and give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. It's Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine? It says that. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Auburn Tigers? From recruiting players to hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps, handling scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program, and it's all in your hands. And here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games, and your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free. It's got no ads and 100% playable offline. You can play on the go. So be sure to check it out. But we do have a special offer for Locked On Auburn listeners. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store, and you receive a free boost to your program. Download the game today. Just visit ultimate-cfb.com or look it up in your phone's app store. That is Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Brian, when we talk about Na'eem Offord, top player in the state, longtime commit to the Ohio State Buckeyes, there continues to be real steam, real smoke, real traction that he will end up in Auburn's class. As far as what you're hearing, I can't imagine there's been too much that's just out there since we last spoke about it. But as you kind of see what this staff is doing and, they're constantly working the trail, where are you with Na'eem Offord potentially flipping from Ohio State to Auburn?
There's two things that I'm looking at. He's so good that I don't think really any school, Ohio State included, is going to just keep him off the field. But if he thinks Ohio State's going to have more guys back, then because he'd started a lot of programs, and Auburn's not exactly thin at corner by any means. But no,
they're not, especially young. There's a lot of young corners there too. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, it's ironic, but it might hurt Auburn a little bit. Like, I doubt Offord from meeting him is worried about it. But
yeah,
outside of like Ohio State losing a guy or something, I just don't know what else there is to talk about with him other than Auburn's defense just dominating in the second. Like, we both are very high on Auburn's secondary. For anybody, I'm sure you could say that.
Yeah.
But if they can have a lights out game early in the year, like if hypothetically, if they beat Oklahoma 34-13 with 3 picks, okay, that changes you. You know what I mean? There needs to be something like that because he's been to Auburn several times. He's committed to Ohio State, been there several times. What is left? I was told Oregon's too far. I don't know what the Bama situation is, but they're 45 minutes from him. Yeah. I would assume they're in it until the end. Outside of those three,
I'm hearing a lot of Bama stuff.
I know. I haven't either.
Hearing more Oregon, I think, than Bama.
I was just told that Oregon is going to be too far.
I hope so. It's a long way away. Yeah, the youth at Auburn's corner is interesting. Corner spot because, like, okay, you lose Keontae Scott after this year. Kayan Lee, he's a true sophomore, so he can't do anything yet. So you got him back. And then we've heard nothing but great things about J.C. Hart, who after this season, he's a redshirt freshman right now, so he'd be a redshirt sophomore next year. And then Jalen Crawford, who's a guy that you and I are both very, very high on. Like, those are probably your top 3 corners, assuming you don't add anybody in the portal right now. And so if Offord's a true freshman in that group, like where does he fit in realistically day one in your mind?
That's the thing. Like that is a very competitive group. Like, Lee's going to start at one spot. Can Offord play free safety his freshman year? Can he play nickel? Do you just play him somewhere else? Do you just let him kind of figure it out? I don't know what they would do.
Yeah, and that's interesting because like you lose Jaron Thompson this year, and so like do you use that spot or scoot some folks around? I don't know, because we've talked about it before, like how versatile all of these DBs are in Auburn's room. Like they can do a lot of different things. And so with that, like there's pros and cons to that. But like if you're Offord and you want to play day one, I think there's a path to it. Brian, despite how like stacked Auburn is at this position, I just think Offord's that good. And I think he knows it. And I don't really know how much of a factor this is in his recruitment because he knows how good he is.
That's why I said there's nothing else for me to really talk about except for playing time and Auburn just proving it.
Right. Yeah.
Because everybody knows how good he's as smooth and as technically sound a high school kid can be at this point in his career. Like he's been coached and he enjoys it. So I think athletically and all that combined with it, because he's 190, 195, he's ready to play college football now. That's pretty rare for a DB, but either you've been through the playbook and you've been through a training camp and all that, or you haven't. So he's got to go through that just like Cam and all those guys did this year to earn that playing time. So need to see it, but I think he'll play at Ohio State or Auburn or anywhere as freshman.
Yeah, I mean, he's that good. And so, well, yeah, we'll see exactly what that looks like. Brian, this is the last week of the off season, as obviously week 0 games happen this weekend, and then next week it'll be game week. But just to kind of, before we get into the season, what do you think realistic expectations should be for the Auburn Tigers this season?
Record wise, I think 8-4 is where I'm at. As far as what I want to see is the same thing that most fans do. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. If the other team outplays you, that's one thing. Auburn shot themselves in the foot minimum 3 times last year, probably in games they should have won. And then the New Mexico State games, I don't even know what that was. So more consistency and the passing game in particular, there's no excuse this year. You got a veteran offensive line, got a veteran left tackle, quarterback knows the system. I mean, they got as good a freshman group of receivers as you will see in any year in college football.
Right.
They should score. So 8-4, and quite honestly, it should be a lot better brand of college football for fans to watch.
Yeah, I think so. And like we've already seen some of the depth be discussed up to this point with the options on the offensive line, with there being questions about Percy Lewis, which I still think is pretty wild. So we'll see how all that plays out. But the fact that they've got depth on the offensive line to try different things. And then, it sounds like Austin Keys missed some time with something with his knee, MCL maybe. And then just, having Dorian Mayusi there and Gote, the Maryland transfer there, like we're already seeing why depth is so crucial in the SEC. And to me, I think that's going to come in handy down the stretch, especially when Auburn's going on the road to Missouri and going on the road to Kentucky. We're in kind of the thick and heart of conference play. I think we're already kind of seeing that be beneficial.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Auburn it is a weird schedule this year. 5 games at home. Hugh Freeze has even talked about it. But if they come out of that 5-0, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, I don't see them not going at least 8-4. Do you see any feasible option? I mean, anything's possible with an injury or something, that aside, but outside of Peyton getting hurt and Cam getting hurt and like Percy getting hurt, like something wild like that.
So, all right, let's say they go 5-0. So they beat, Cal, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Let's like worst case scenario after that at Georgia. Okay. Loss at Missouri. Okay. Loss. Worst case scenario at Kentucky, you lose. But I just don't think you lose to Vandy at home. I don't think you lose to ULM at home. A&M, like you'd have to lose all of these toss-up games if that were the case.
To do. Like just logistically, it's just almost impossible to do.
Right.
So I agree.
Right. So yeah. I mean, I think if you go 5-0, you've got a shot at 9-3. But I think 8-4 is probably the most likely. Yep.
Okay, we're on the same page then.
I think so. Brian, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Auburn Daily and at FB Scout _Florida. obviously, with all the games starting, it's more fun to talk about all the stuff going on. And recruiting is probably going to get more interesting next weekend, we think.
No kidding. No kidding. And you're going to be all over the really the only game this weekend that matters with FSU and Georgia Tech. So be sure to check out Locked On Seminoles too, just for your college football goodness. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We will see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.